The signal from the brain and the spinal cord goes through these MNJs, the neuromuscular junctions. That's where the nerves tell the muscles to contract. So that's that junction. So that signal gets interrupted as we get older. But what they've found, Brad, is that the number one thing to preserve the NMJs and that firing is, guess what?
Aloha! I am so happy to introduce a great in-person show here in the Sacramento studios of the B.rad Podcast with my good friend Cynthia Monteleone, traveling all the way from Hawaii to California for a podcast binge, and she killed it at the Model Health Show down in LA with Sean Stevenson and the Power Project show up here in the Sacramento area with Mark and Nsima and Andrew. And we had a great talk in person. So she returns to the podcast. And when you get in person, you really have a chance to go deep. And that's what we did. So we have a lengthy, wide-ranging show on all aspects of health, fitness, peak performance, longevity, especially in Cynthia's area of expertise, which is kind of being the naysayer and the truth seeker in the health and fitness scene. She's not afraid to speak the truth, speak it straight, reference her deep research and her experience with elite athletes, and talk about some things that are kind of counter to the prevailing opinion. And I love getting into that because it really teaches us to think critically and not take these popular trending insights at face value. One of them that comes to mind that we talked about was how everyone's obsessed with the idea that preserving muscle mass is the key to longevity. It's the number one thing you can do. You got to eat a lot of protein and keep your muscle mass. And the insight is scientifically validated and it's true, but we have to be a little more specific and talk about the difference between just holding on to muscle mass and the true and most driving catalyst for longevity, which is maintaining muscle power and explosiveness and strength. It is not directly correlated with just having a lot of size. Maybe you see some big people walking around that are carrying muscle, but they're not very fit. So that's just one thing. Another one, she's talking about how not everyone needs or should take creatine. What? She goes, I don't want to talk about it on your show because you have creatine products. It's okay. Bring it, girl. So she brought the heat, not afraid to be counterculture. We spent a little time ripping on Dr. Rhonda Patrick's viral YouTube video about her super nutrition green smoothie and why consuming high levels of plant toxins can sometimes be a bad thing, and what the true dietary centerpieces should be. Spoiler alert, it's red meat, and that's how she coaches her athletes to peak performance. She's a coach of numerous Olympic and world champion masters level athletes. She's been a great inspiration to me and a source of knowledge and reason, and I really appreciate her deep thinking and progressive insights about all manner of health and fitness. I think you're going to love this, just like if you listen to our other show. She definitely talks about one of our favorite topics here, especially honoring the book Born to Walk, where she describes how jogging can actually make you age faster and cause a decline in the all-important anaerobic strength, power, explosiveness muscle fibers. Not so with walking, but jogging, because it's on that borderline where you have to recruit what might otherwise be fast twitch muscle fibers and convert them into slow twitch. We get to talking about her mentor that she mentions so frequently, Charles Poliquin, the strength training legend, who passed too early, but he passed on so much knowledge to Cynthia, so it's great to see her continuing to honor the legacy of all the education and information provided by Charles Poliquin. Many more interesting insights and controversial topics. So here we go in the studio with Cynthia Monteleone. Follow her at FastOver40 on Instagram. Check out her new line of healthy natural skincare from Hawaii called Earthen Hawaii, and her website with her information about the metabolic health practitioner services that she offers at mamstrong808.com. Here we go. Cynthia Monteleone. Cynthia Monteleone in person. High five, coming all the way from Hawaii to the B.rad studios. Hawaiian style fist bump. We got so much to talk about. Thank you for making the trip. You've come out here to do a podcast binge. I can't wait to watch your show on Sean Stevenson Model Health Show. You got Power Project with Mark Bell and Seema and Andrew. And thanks for making a stop here.
Of course. I'm so happy to be here in person.
As some listeners know, you've been a great inspiration for me in my foray into Masters Track and Field, with you having those world titles and also the extensive coaching of other great Masters athletes. We're going to definitely talk about that, but I think it's really interesting how you got into Masters Track and Field with that gap in the timeline. So you were athlete back in the day in college. Let's talk about your collegiate career and then how 20 years went by and then you started throwing down again.
Yeah. So a lot of people assume that because I ran track in college, I just kept on running and I just was good at track. And that's why I became.
Well, that's why she beat me in the last race. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's not true. I actually, once I finished college, I was a 400-meter specialist in college, of course, but I went to a Division I school, UNCW, and
you know, for North Carolina, Wilmington.
Yep. And I was all East Coast in the 500 indoor, by the way, but I wasn't good enough to go on and go to the Olympics or anything like that. And so I thought, okay, well, that's that, and on to my career and getting married and having kids. And so 20 years went by, as you said, and here I was 40, and my daughter was 11, and she said, "Mom, I want to run track in college like you did." And I said, "Okay, well, let's go out on the track and run a 400 because that's what I ran, and see how we do." And we went out to the track. And we painfully crawled across the finish line in about 1 minute and 30 seconds. It might have even been a little bit more.
Both of you?
Both of us.
That's a pretty good time for an 11-year-old.
Not bad.
Not
right?
bad.
Yeah.
Nor a 40-year-old retired athlete. Not bad. I mean, not like you to your standard later, but okay. We had a 90-second completion of the lap. That's moving for those of you.
The track coach out there said, "Oh, well, you started out good." Said to us, and I was like, "Thank you."
I mean, it's
it
6-minute mile pace. It's not slow. You call it slow because you eventually chopped a lot of time off, but you had a starting point that gave you a little inspiration.
And I was, listen, I was like 20 pounds over, we wouldn't say overweight, but over my normal, maybe 15 to 20 pounds over my normal weight because I had just finished breastfeeding my third child. And I always tell women out there, like, don't be in a rush to to lose that body fat, because what happens is our toxins are stored in our fat. And so you're actually releasing toxins into the breast milk. So you really don't want to lose body fat rapidly, by the way. And so but I had just finished breastfeeding. So I was like, okay, all systems go. We're good to, get in shape and lose body fat and all that. And so we just started training together 3 times a week. We would run. Actually, it started out just 1 time a week for the first few months, and then it increased to 3 times a week only. A lot of people think that I sprinted every day to become a world champion 3 years later. But it was really just showing up those 3 days a week consistently, and my daughter with me. And so we trained together. And of course, so at age 43, I became the fastest woman in the world for my age, which I did not see coming. I couldn't even believe it. Back then at age 40, but, and then she ended up running track in college for her first year. So yeah, it was good. She ran the 400 hurdles. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
At UNCW. It turns out.
She chose UNCW of all places, coming from Hawaii.
Yep.
That's a long trip away. That's 6 time zones.
She really wanted to be, she had established, comfort in that track because my parents retired there. So we went every year to visit my parents and do track workouts. So she was familiar with the coaches and familiar with the track, and she really found that to be like a second home. But yeah, so I think a lot of people think, okay, yes, I did work hard, and we can talk about what kind of workouts I did if you wanted to know. But really, it was just a process of showing up all the time and just being consistent and that sort of thing. Not giving up when it was painful, because it was painful. I remember at one point thinking, wow, it feels like my bones are moving back together after having 3 kids, like it was really something. But I remember like my first year, this coach from a neighboring school said, I think you could be a world champion. And I was not running that fast. I was running, I ran a 200 in a local meet at that point, and I ran like 29 or something like that. And he said, I think you can be world champion. And I said, yeah, right. And then I said, all right, well, if you believe it, I believe it. And then he started coaching me, and he was right. So,
I mean, that's a really fast progression from getting out there, knocking the dust off.
You think so?
And going a minute and a half down to, what did you win the world title in?
Well, I was indoor, which, if you know, track indoor is slower. So it was a 58.1, which turns out outdoor that season to a 57.4. But a lot of people might, if you know track out there, you might say, well, 57, second 400 is not like, you wouldn't, that wouldn't be very competitive in Division I athletics in college.
Yeah, but you're 43 years old. Who says that?
Well,
I mean,
I've heard people.
What kind of idiot says that?
One master's track guy once was like, "Oh, were you just slow in college?" When I said, because I forgot to mention, Brad, I ran that 58.1 that was faster than my indoor 400 college time. And so I said, well, I wasn't slow in college, but that was my genetic potential. But I'm running against women who ran 51 to 53 in college. So they're now running slower than 58. Yeah. They're running 59, 60, 63. And they used to run 51 to 53.
Yeah.
So I'm running past my genetic potential by running faster than I did in college.
It's a good feeling. I know what you mean. With high jump, I was so bad in high school that I couldn't compete for the team. I was a distance runner.
Oh, okay.
My height was 5 feet in high school, which is good for a girl. And so I would practice with the girls because we would have the same bar height. But I never competed in a meet until Masters Track and Field. And I noticed a guy on the national rankings who was jumping a little higher than me. Like maybe he was 5'3" and I was 5'1" or 5'2". And I remember him from the state meet. He was like a 6'8" high school guy.
So he wasn't even close to his.
He's still doing great in the 50s.
Right.
And so am I. I'm better than I was in high school, which is not saying much. But anyway.
It is saying much. That's my point, Brad. It's like, if you can come close to what you did in college in your 40s and beyond, or, within a certain percentage, I would say, like, you're a superhero. Because we talked a little bit about this before the podcast, but we talked about how I'm kind of in this bubble where a lot of people around me are very healthy, and I just don't see standard American diet and things like that in my little bubble circle in Hawaii. But it's like, I can't believe how many people are out there that aren't reaching their genetic potential, or we'll say epigenetics, right? Because I learned how to turn my genes on and off in order to surpass what I was in my 20s through food and supplements and protocols. So, like, what is the potential for all these people out there that are listening, or other people who don't even listen to wellness podcasts? They're losing out on so much of what they could be in their life by not choosing things that are going to impact their genetics well. Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh, that you just described. I mean, this is the state of affairs in the United States, especially any country you can mention, but we're ranked 36 in longevity, despite being the most advanced and having the most sophisticated medical care. We're like below, Costa Rica and some underdeveloped countries. Yeah, but like, it's so normal to disregard our genetic expectations for health and engage in these modern lifestyle practices like eating too much processed food and not exercising enough, that now the normal aging curve is what we all see around us. And so it seems normal. Yeah. Like, you just get a bigger and bigger spare tire every 10 years as a male, especially, or you take more and more medications. I saw an article that said, like, the average American, it takes 12 medications, or I think it was 12 or 17 or some unbelievable thing.
At what age? Just average? Like,
average.
Period.
And so, like, if I'm on 0 or 1 or whatever the person, that means someone else is taking 24 to make that average. I mean, it's pretty rough to see, but I'm glad we're on this topic, because what I see in Masters Track and Field are these outliers, but it's like, no, this is what's possible. And there's so few people doing it. And I joke with people like, wow, that's great. You went to the meet and you got second in the high jump in the nationals. Yeah. And I said, by the way, you would have got fifth if you showed up. and cleared a bar at the lowest height because there was only 5 people, right?
Right,
So
right, yeah.
the people at top like you are
True,
so impressive and just mind blowing.
Thank you.
And then who's 8th in the world in your division? It's someone who got a ride there from their cousin and said, I'll sign up. Yeah. So
Maybe
it's not deep,
for
you know,
nationals,
right? Or typical meet,
yeah,
like, you know,
a local meet. Yeah, you have to be like, I have gold medal for my regional.
No, I go out there to the track meets and there's 4 guys in in 8 lanes. I'm like,
right.
Well, where's the other 60-year-old male 400-meter contestants? Why aren't they here?
We want to get more people showing up for those meets because, like,
But I mean, in terms of high jump, like it takes so much just to get out there and to be able to warm up and compete because the injuries and the impact trauma and all that. So, like, I celebrate anybody who's able to participate.
I love how.
My friend Dave just finished the High Rocks.
Okay.
In an hour 23 and he was hoping for faster, whatever. I'm like, the fact that you could finish that at 64.
Yeah. What do you think
so
about
amazing
that,
at whatever time. So those of you,
I have a new client who is
describe what it is too.
Wants to win the High Rocks championship.
Yeah.
She's 49 and she's pretty fit actually. She used to be a distance runner, but she's finding that she's actually increasing her power as an age, which I would love to talk to you about too. But so she explained it to me because I wasn't that familiar. Where you run 1,000 meters and then you do a station 4 times, and they're like explosive stations, like one burpees / something. I don't know.
Yeah. You do burpees for a certain number of meters. It's just amazingly hard.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
I am fascinated by the exploits of today's so-called hybrid athlete. It is so amazing.
Is that classifying as hybrid? I think so.
Yeah. I mean, because you need the endurance.
Yeah.
Same with like CrossFit, I would say.
Right, but
too.
unlike CrossFit, High Rocks doesn't change. So you can actually train for those stations and train for
which I would say is a plus, especially when dudes drown in the water in the CrossFit Games World Championship, and they make surprise challenges like swimming at the end of a hard challenging competition. It's absolutely stupid and insane, but High Rocks seems to have this template where you can practice for it, you know what to expect, and then you can look at your time. But the challenges, what do you call them, stations, are extremely grueling, requiring explosiveness, fast twitch. Like one of them is you push the sled with a ton of weight on it for I think 50 meters or 100 meters, but then you finish this thing where your muscles are just torched, and then you have to go run another K, and then another K, and another K. So it's extreme endurance and power.
Yeah. So I don't know. I wish it were not a K. I wish it were like 100 meters.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
the only thing is because then she's gonna have to. She has to tap into the endurance training. World a little. Too much for my taste for longevity, I'd say.
I agree. Yeah.
But it's fun to work with her because it's something new for me to write programs for, because I'm helping her with the track part of it, because those High Rocks coaches do not know that 1,000-meter track part. In my experience, I'm sure there are some out there that do, but whatever. Yeah. So it's fun. So just saying we got off topic.
You know, Chris Hinshaw, his thing is called aerobic conditioning is the name of his brand. Okay. He's coached a lot of CrossFit world champions building their endurance, because these CrossFit people are Rip City in the gym and they're good at Olympic lifting and handstand push-ups, but the CrossFit games and the competition lasts for a freaking hour or something. So he got them to build their aerobic base so that they can thrive more on these long duration workouts and competitions. So every athlete needs an endurance base, but as we talked about at the last show, and the book Born to Walk.
I love this book.
The endurance base.
Wait, I have my
built from.
Have my palooza.
Oh yeah, plug for the paloovas. We can build endurance from walking around.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
We don't need to push ourselves and sweat and huff and puff.
About that for a second. Yeah. We have a lot to talk about, but walking versus jogging. Okay. So what's happening is that if you're jogging, you're actually preserving slow twitch muscle fibers, which is terrible for aging, because we already lose fast twitch muscle fibers and they get converted to slow twitch. So
they get converted anyway. And now we're doing further conversion, is what you're saying.
Yes, you're training your body to say go slow. And
literally.
Go slow. And this is important. I'll talk about why it's important for a second. Remind me, neural output. But when you walk, it's not the same process. You're under the threshold for teaching your body to preserve slow twitch. So you're not making fast twitch like you would be with sprinting or explosive work, but you're also not changing it to slow twitch. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
we have
walking
these.
is great.
We have the type 2A and the type 2B fast twitch muscle fibers. The quick insight is like we have fast twitch muscle fibers that can be used for endurance when needed.
Right. So they can convert.
So they can actually, if you keep training with endurance, you can convert the composition of your muscle fiber to more endurance oriented.
Right.
Endurance athletes and guys on the tour love that because they're doing extreme endurance. But you may make a good point with aging.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to maintain a decent level of aerobic conditioning such that you have maximum longevity potential. The research from cited by Dr. James O'Keefe, the Run for Your Life but Not Too Far and at a Slow Pace is his TED Talk that has millions of views. He says, look, in 2.5 hours a week, you can basically get an A+ in aerobic conditioning with just basic fundamental walking, doing one bike at the gym or whatever. Yeah. But then we're hugely deficient on your area of expertise, which we're going to focus on in the show, is like, look, I see a lot of, especially seniors and people who aren't inclined to do explosive, powerful exercise. They're good. They do their walking around the park every day, or they put in their steps or whatever, but they have zero explosive fast twitch. And so if fast twitch is lost at a greater and quicker rate as we age, that's the rationale for not jogging.
That's where I am in the area of expertise in the science on this. And that is that, so not only, it's called dynapenia and sarcopenia, right? So right now you'll see in the wellness communities and out there, like everybody's pushing protein and muscle mass. I don't know. It feels like that to me.
To you. The hot new thing.
The Kardashians have a protein popcorn, which...
Who's that? Kardashians?
Who's the Kardashians?
Is that a coach or an athlete? Or...
Yeah.
Oh, it's a cultural phenomenon. I forgot.
No, it's nobody that important, probably. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that the point is that it's so mainstream that they're like, oh, we're going to make a protein popcorn. And I don't even know it's in it. I wouldn't go near it, but it's probably got plant protein, which is not the best quality protein that you can intake. But the point is...
Why are you being so nice today? Why don't you tell us what you think about nasty, disgusting plant-based protein?
Charles used to say, my mentor, Charles Poliquin.
We're going to talk about him shortly, too.
He used to say, it's not worth the cardboard box it came in. You're better off eating the cardboard. That was one of his lines he had.
Anyway.
So no plant protein for, optimal performance and longevity. But I digress. So protein and muscle mass is what's being pushed right now. And, hey, rightly so. We do lose muscle mass as we get older. But what scientists and researchers are finding out right now is we're not losing muscle mass because we can't generate muscle mass. We're losing muscle mass because we're missing the neural output. So what's happening is that our nerves fire to contract our muscles. So as we get older, our nerves fire less, and our nerves get converted to other nerves. I'll explain that in a second. And it slows us down. So then we're not as powerful and we can't contract that muscle as fast and well. So that's how we lose the muscle and the power. So they don't think it's actually the physical building of the muscle. They think it's the neurological firing of it that's keeping us from being strong as we get older.
Makes sense.
So what they found out is, and this is a good analogy. So think about when we're young, you are wired with fiber optics, right? And everything's high-speed internet, high-speed. So you can game live, and as soon as you press that button, that character's doing whatever you want it to do. So your brain and your spinal cord both are telling your muscles to contract, and it's saying, go, go, go. And when we're younger, they go. They go fast, and they go as soon as we tell it to. As we get older, we become more like dial-up. Okay. The signal from the brain and the spinal cord goes through these MNJs, the neuromuscular junctions. That's where the nerves tell the muscles to contract. So that's that junction. So that signal gets interrupted as we get older. But what they've found, Brad, is that the number one thing to preserve the NMJs and that firing is, guess what? Sprinting. It's at the top of the pyramid of exercises that will preserve that power. So then that means not only are you preserving your muscle power, which is, I'm sorry, it's more important than how big the muscle is, because you could have
two different things.
Hypertrophy,
right?
All show, no go, Charles would say.
Yeah.
You could have that and not have the proper power to execute what you want to do. So I think all these wellness influencers or whatever, they're saying muscle mass is the key to longevity. I don't think so. I think it's the muscle
oversimplification.
power. Yes, it's the muscle power. So sprinting, and then followed by things that coordinate explosiveness with the whole body. So not explosiveness with just the upper body. It has to coordinate the whole body.
Mm-hmm.
So things like jumping rope, maybe rowing or assault bike.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it, so I've been
obviously sprinting. You're using your arms in a very powerful manner.
Yes, but you have to coordinate the whole system at a high demand, and that's the key to preserving this neurological firing. And they're finding that the best quality longevity comes from preserving this neural output.
That's something you heard here first from Cynthia. Thank you very much, because we're totally obsessed with
what I wanted. The message I want to get out on this podcast tour is that it matters. The power matters more than the muscle size.
Yeah, and I think if we challenge the main promoters of this, who have the big following, they would certainly agree, and they would probably say that we're just kind of shortcutting to slam this basic insight, especially on people who are growing old and frail and getting smaller. Mm-hmm. It's like, you got to keep your muscle on your body and all that. Yes. But I think it's important to distinguish between growing a muscle and getting it big, because most people look at people in the gym with giant muscles and they think they're super strong, which they are by comparison. But then go watch some video of the Olympics and the 100-meter final. And some of those guys, Trevon Burbell is 5'9", 155. He's one of the fastest humans of all time. He's not a large person. He does not have large muscles, but it's all about the explosiveness, the power, the ability to fire quickly. So muscle mass is definitely a good thing as we age. Right. But if you're just doing slow bicep curls and thinking that, if you keep your bicep at 12 inches, that's your dial.
Let's talk about slow.
Big difference.
Let's talk about slow. So, my mentor was Charles. And
Charles Poliquin, for the transcriber, which also happens to be my mom, having to go look up these quick names, Poliquin. Give us a quick bio of him, and then talk about your relationship, and then the insight that you're going to share about Charles.
Long story short, a legend in the strength and conditioning world especially, but he started out, I think he for years wrote for Muscle and Fitness, a column, and just trained so many Olympic and world champions in so many, like 36 different sports, I believe. So a genius. He spoke 12 languages. And so he was able to read research in other languages that never got translated into English. So a lot of people will be like, well, how did he find this research? We can't find it, or something like that. And it's because it's in Russian or something like this, So everyone who knows Charles's work knows he was like 20 to 30 years ahead of the research. And even he has a story he tells about, or he used to tell about this doctor who yelled at him about there's no research for high dose fish oil. And how could you recommend high dose fish oil? And he said, if I waited for the research, I would have missed, 18 Olympics or something like that. If I didn't give my clients the advice to win those Olympics. Anyway, so it turns out of course, like literally 25 years later, the research comes out that up to 60 grams a day is actually safe of fish oil, which if you take a one
capsule is 1,000.
Like 1,000, so it's like
pills.
60 pills a day. But this would be for like a morbidly obese person, not for the average person. But anyway, so Charles was really ahead of his time, and I was, blessed to be able to learn from him. But what was I saying about?
He passed early.
Yeah, but before that, I was saying something about Charles.
Firing
about slow.
Yeah, slow.
So one of the things that he pointed out that a lot of people don't understand is that when you do slow eccentrics, so not slow, concentric, you were saying bicep curls, but on certain muscle groups, especially if you do slow eccentrics, particularly a Romanian deadlift, let's say, you're doing a 6-second eccentric.
Eccentric is the lowering of the weight, if you're not familiar with that term.
Yeah.
So the bicep curl is going up and contracting the muscle and then lowering it back down would be the eccentric portion of the lift. Yeah.
Yes. So, when you're doing the eccentric, you're actually recruiting more muscle fibers, including fast twitch. So you're going slow, but you're actually recruiting more fast twitch fibers, which people don't really realize. They think I have to move the bar or move the weight fast in order to train explosiveness. This is actually not true. Another thing he used to say is it's the neurological firing of the intent to move the bar. So if you have a heavy bench press and you're trying to explode, but it's heavy and the bar's not moving,
you're not really,
then you actually are training that neurological explosion better than if you were moving the fast bar fast.
Does that count for my sprint workouts where my times aren't that impressive, but I think I'm running really fast and my intent is to fly around the track like an Olympian?
Actually, yeah. And you know what the difference between that 29-second 200 and my PR, master's PR at 26.0 was I had the same intent in both of those races. I just was a little bit stronger and was metabolically more prepared by the time I, got to the 26.0. So, so I'm just saying like that intent matters, that explosive intent. So it has to be an explosive intent though. But it doesn't mean that if you move the bar slow that you are not recruiting fast twitch fibers or neurological.
It's sort of like
input.
You're trying your hardest is an explosive intent. You got to get the bar off the ground.
Yeah.
And so it's a fast-moving brain, I guess you would say.
Yep.
Yeah. That quote
there's another interesting exercise, which I thought was a little surprising to me, but medicine ball throws, overhead, backwards, and rotational are close to the top of the pyramid for this neurological output.
Those are pretty safe for most people.
Yeah.
And when you say sprinting, we have our preference would be sprinting on flat ground for bone density, fat reduction signaling, but those people who aren't adapted, you can certainly go on a continuum of doing low or no impact sprints and get similar benefits.
Yes. So, we don't want anyone out there to just start sprinting
tomorrow
as fast as they can and pull a hamstring. So we want to have a preparation of strength first. So I trained my 82-year-old dad to sprint last year, and he joined me at the World Championships in a 200. It was such a just wonderful moment and a memory that I'll have forever, But of course, I can't tell my 82-year-old dad, just go out there and run as fast as you can on the track. So what we did do is first, we did a lot of Polican things I learned as a strength coach from him to prepare VMO work. So Polican step-ups, do you know about those? They're like you raise the heel of the working leg and then your other leg goes down. So say my right heel is raised on like a wedge board, or you can stack plates if you need to.
Yeah.
And then your other foot, my left foot, the heel is in line with my toe, and then I lower gradually, and then my right foot that's raised on the slant board, I'm targeting the little muscle right above my knee. It's called the VMO, vastus medalis oblique, part of the quad. That really prepares you for sprinting. It helps stabilize all of your tendons and everything in your knee because it's doing most of the work.
Yeah, you can see this on YouTube. There's people demonstrating that, and my physical therapist had me do that. Whatever you terminology it,
right?
That's great. Little,
he did a lot of those
body control exercises and getting ready. Yeah,
yes, and you could even see like I have a slow-mo I like to share of him sprinting, and he's you see it popping, and I'm like so proud. Oh my gosh!
Wow.
So how many months did he do that? Probably about 8 months before he even really started running. He was doing that. He did shoulder presses, but with eccentric. People think sprinting's all lower body, but it's a lot of upper body. He did bicep curls, not a whole lot. He did a little bit of squatting to the chair. And so things that really prepared him, but again, like slow eccentric so that he could recruit those fast fibers safely. A lot of people think you need to do explosive Olympic lifts and that sort of thing. And I can tell you, my strength coach had me doing 0 Olympic lifts between 40 and 43 because I was just getting back into shape and that sort of thing. He added them in a little bit later, but I didn't need to be doing that for explosiveness.
Yeah, so Olympic lifts are the
clean and pull.
The events they compete in the Olympics, and they require a ton of technique, and they're very difficult to execute. It takes a while.
Right. Difficult because you need to have perfect form or else you're going to get injured.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of people, the injury risk outweighs the benefit because unless you're doing them well, then you really shouldn't be doing them, to be honest. So strength training to prepare. And then he started walking up the hill in his driveway. He had a long driveway hill. So he did that. And then eventually he started jogging up. So this walking and jogging up a hill is a safe way to start because you're not going to be able to go full speed and your foot's going to be pushed into dorsiflexion. And all of those tendons and muscles are going to start to get conditioned for when you do sprint flat. And then I like to have my clients move to grass after that. So it's not hard on their shins and that sort of thing. But already their shins should have gotten strong from that form. And then they move to the track after that. So he actually would do the tracks once a week. And then those other days he'd do the hills or he'd walk around his neighborhood. He liked to walk and then just do sprints in between. Yeah.
So, I mean, anyone listening, watching who realizes that might be a bit of a void in their fitness program. They have a commitment to fitness of some sort. They play a sport or they get their time in the gym. You can integrate sprinting safely by doing some preparatory exercises and then using the quote resistance like a hill or I like pushing the sled when I'm dealing with my little injuries because you finish and you're completely out of breath like you just sprinted. So maybe that's one of the checkpoints we could go for is like something that's challenging, right?
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Now, if you're an advanced sprinter, if you're out there listening and you're an advanced sprinter like yourself or someone like me, and you're training and doing hills and doing sled pushes, it's important at some point closer to your season to follow that resistance with flat work. That's fast. Or light sled pushes. So say you're doing like 4 30-meter sled pushes as hard as you can, heavy. Then you want to actually take all the weight off and then do 4 really fast with no weight or lightweight. Because then that actually helps your neuromuscular firing to remember that it still can be fast. So you don't want it to sort of imprint that slow. Does that make sense?
Oh,
that slow rhythm.
Yeah.
Because our bodies remember the rhythm through our nervous system. So we don't want to remember that slow rhythm. We want to. So my coach would have us do these long hills. They're about 110 meters. We would do about 8 of them. And we'd either have to shuffle jog back down. Brutal, or we could walk fast. That was like the good days where we could walk fast. And if we tried to guess how many we were going to do, like usually it was 8, but like one day we were like, okay, there's only 2 more. He heard us say that and forget it. We had 12 that day because he did not like that. We guessed that, we were trying to guess the workout. Anyway, so we would do these hills and then he'd have us go to the track and run in flats a 30-second 200. Rest,
finish off,
a minute to 3 minutes, depending on the day, and try to do it again. Sometimes we'd have to run a 30-second in flats 200, wait a minute, and then run another 30-second 200. It's brutal, but what it did is it trained us to not get stuck in that pattern. But if it's like off season or preseason or sometime around the months away from your competition season, then it's okay to just do that resistance work.
I think related, I want to ask you what you think. I was talking to the track coach at University of Redlands, my friend Tommy Whittemore's colleague there, and he was saying that after the track workout, he just has his athletes walk to cool down instead of jog because he doesn't want them jogging after the workout.
Yes.
I'm like, wow, that's brilliant. I've never heard of that. But
I always
you just ran fast the whole workout and now you're going to teach your brain to run slow. I'm like, okay, now I just walk it off.
He's great.
Every time. Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah. You also got me to completely quit jogging in my life.
Yes. No jogging.
So I do.
How many times you see sprinters, their coach makes them jog a 400-meter warm up?
I guess
800 meters.
I don't know about the Olympic guys, but certainly the high school kids who knows what they're doing. They're just having fun. But now I do walking and drills and walk recovery in between the drills.
Yeah, or skipping's good.
All the skipping drills, all the running drills.
Instead of walking back from your drill, you could just light skip.
Yeah, something.
Something that's not jogging.
So I guess back on the jogging theme, because many of the fitness enthusiasts that I associate with, people that really have there's a huge swath of society on the 36th ranked country that they need to get off their butts and do anything. And I'm not even going to critique what you're doing. If you just take off and run down the street, that's fine for now, get moving.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people who are gym members, they go this many days a week, or they put in their miles and they're jogging their way to the next 10K that they enter, or even worse, half marathon or marathon.
Right. Or ultra marathon.
Yeah. I mean, ultra marathon could be, I think, more healthier in many ways than the half and the full marathon, because they're so slow.
Nope.
They're so slow that it's like walking.
Detrimental to health markers.
It's what?
Detrimental to health markers.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how fast you're going. And I think if you're going to trek across the big island of Hawaii in 9 days of hiking 20 miles a day, it's not as health destructive as huffing and puffing and running in a running group.
Maybe the ultra marathoners that
they're so slow that they're yeah. Well, I mean, if they're trying to train for a 50-mile run, not the leaders who are extreme athletes, whatever they're doing, but the longer you spend out there and the slower you go, the less destructive to your health than the chronic cardio.
If you're trying to use your elastic force, you're still training. You're still above that threshold of walking. That's what the research says.
And the impact too.
The impact.
Yeah, the impact of jogging is a lot bigger than walking. Yeah. And you're not even that much faster.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I would say unless they're actually walking, it's still going to be detrimental to their health.
Yeah.
But So, it's jogging. Even in the cool down, I saw Matthew Bowling posted last year that
he's an Olympic sprinter for USA.
Tremendous talent.
Yeah.
And so I saw him posting his cool down, which was dynamic. And I said, thank God somebody's doing a dynamic cool down, because I don't.
Dynamic meaning what in his?
He's like doing some kind of like little drills to cool down. Yeah. And so, for instance, like I have my athletes and myself, instead of jogging, we would do duck walks and like toe walks and maybe just 50 meters 4 times. And that was pretty much it for our dynamic cool down. Because if you like, not only just teaching your body the jogging, but I do feel that stretching is still pulling the rubber band too thin. So you're against jogging at any point. I'm against static stretching at any point.
Even after the workout?
Especially after the workout. Especially before if you're trying to keep explosiveness, but especially after if you're trying to prevent injury.
Yeah.
So one of the key things that I see makes a difference in my clients that I coach is that if they static stretch after the workout, when they stop doing that, their little nagging injuries go away. Yeah. So the stretching after the workout just keeps, if you think about your muscles like that rubber band, you just fatigue them and now you're stretching them super thin. Like we don't want that thin. We want it strong, right? We want it strong and explosive always. You don't want to stretch it thin. So you can do mobility, but keep it moving as long as you keep it moving.
Dynamic stretching or mobility exercises.
I even have a yoga flow in my warm up.
I've seen it on YouTube, right?
I'm not holding
the whole
it.
thing is you're showing there in the high school stadium.
Yeah.
So in general, you're coming out saying that all manner of dynamic stretching is ill-advised.
No, all manner of dynamic stretching is good, but all manner of
static stretching is ill-advised.
In my opinion, yeah.
So like, maybe this is a transition, I don't know, but like we're getting to this point where like the pillars of fitness for decades, you're going to systematically take down a lot of them. Jogging, of course, and endurance training, especially as you get older, is more and more destructive because of the conversion of the fast twitch fibers to slow twitch,
right? And
also all the stuff we talked about in the other podcasts about Born to Walk, where it's just too stressful for most people. They shouldn't be jogging because the heart rate's too high and the impact load. Okay, so we took care of that one, and now stretching. Again, when I talk to most people, I like to go in the gym. I get my stretching in, or I stretch every morning, and thinking we're doing a solid. But let's describe further why that's bad for the muscles. You talk about the rubber band being stretched too many times or too far.
And you're not going to maintain your explosiveness because you need that power, right? So if you think about if you're stretching that rubber band, it's not going to snap back as well if it's stretched out too thin. You want it to snap back.
So when I see on YouTube
Yeah.
or even live attending like an elite track and field competition, I see these elites spending a lot of time in a stretch type of situation. What do you have to say about that?
Not the elites I work with or I've seen.
Right.
They do not do that. So
I guess
yeah,
they're doing quite a lot of dynamic stuff
they're
too.
doing all the ones
maybe
I've seen.
the good
I don't
ones.
know, are not sitting there just stretching out right before their race.
Yeah, there's a subtle difference between doing this 5 times. If you're not watching and
or
listening,
like
I'm just pulling my leg up toward my head, or with the bands. Yeah,
they're moving it.
Yeah,
they're not bouncing it, but they're moving it up and down, and they're not just holding. In my experience, maybe there are some out there, and maybe, you know what, they'd run a heck of a lot faster if they stopped doing that. So, and how dare I say that? But I work with the top Olympians in the world in track and field, and I know the coaches of the other top sprinters, and so I pick their brains all the time, and I just, I dare say that because that's my world.
That's also what you're all about, I think, is, you're the resident skeptic and truth seeker. And I think you're honoring Charles in that way because, like his quote, he's 20 years ahead of the research. And another one of my guests, I think it was Dr. Doug McGuff, he said, look, all this stuff we're talking about, I think he was talking about the general ancestral diet and breakthrough principles that are not well established by Western medicine. He said, look, we're all going to get there in 20 years. Yeah. But that's how long it takes for traditional, expensive, mainstream research. He goes, we're all going to find out that dietary cholesterol is not correlated with blood cholesterol, like the Framingham study came out with after 48 years of studying people.
And still the doctors
are still talking about it. Yeah. But in 20 years' time, there's not going to be any doctors left spouting 40-year-old information. True. It has to be 60 years old before they finally go to their continuing education class and realize, hey, look, blank, blank. We got to stop saying don't eat eggs because humans have eaten eggs for 2 million years, among other reasons. It has a lot of nutrition and it doesn't increase your risk of heart disease, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Charles used to say it takes 20 years for the medical journals to be updated, but I don't know.
The medical like textbooks and stuff.
I don't know.
I remember.
True, because technology's changed a little bit, but that's how it used to be. That's one of the reasons why he was so.
Oh yeah.
And then the other thing, Brad, is that my doctors ask me for research because they are so busy seeing patients. They're like, oh, Cynthia.
That's a good open-minded doctor.
Oh, I only surround myself with those kind. But they'll say what's the, my OBGYN will be like, oh yeah, don't forget to send me the latest on myoinositol and PCOS, and so my other general practitioner that I've had for years, she said oh gosh, I can't do, nothing's worked for my kids' allergies. Can you send me what you would recommend? So these doctors are, I think the younger generations are more open to this because I actually have a new general practitioner since I moved islands, and he's super young. He's like a Doogie Howser. He looks so young, but he is really open-minded to all of the ongoing, new things. And I have great conversations with him. Yeah. So, but I wanted to go back to Charles and working with these athletes and things like that. One of the highlights, or probably the highlight of my professional career, was recently, a couple months ago. I got a text from Helen Morales, who Charles was so proud of. She's the first woman to ever win an Olympic gold in wrestling. In 2016, he worked with her. He said that she was 30% body fat. She was fluffy. She could barely do one chin up. And when he got done with her in 6 to 8 weeks, I think it was, she was like an ox. She was so strong. And she went and defeated a Japanese opponent that had not lost in the past 3 Olympics. She was undefeated. And when the match was over and Helen won that first gold medal for women's wrestling and for Team USA, the wrestler said, my opponent was much stronger than me. So it was like a commercial for Charles, Meanwhile, her wrestling coach, I remember, told my husband at a clinic once, oh yeah, Charles, he put too much weight on my wrestler or something, he was grumbling about it, but she was strong and that was the bottom line. And so fast forward, it's been 10 years, right? 2026 next year. So almost 10 years. And she shows up on my doorstep, so to speak, this summer through contacts and said, hey, I heard you were great. Like, I need some help preparing for the World Championship. I'm having XYZ issues. And I said, all right, I got you. Like, and to me, I was like, oh, Charles is shining down on me. Like, he's like, here you go. Here's one of my favorite clients ever, because Charles loved working with her. And again, was so proud of her. And after I helped her win the World Championship with the protocol, of course, she did all the hard work, but I was part of that team. She said, I'm just so grateful because I haven't felt this way since Charles passed. Like, I haven't felt anyone's understood what to do since Charles passed. And I thought, okay, like, professional gold medal right there, And so, yeah, that's what I like to do, is help other people thrive. And especially since she's been doing it for 10 years, she actually left wrestling to do jiu-jitsu last year and then came back to wrestling this year, feeling it was still calling her, and won the world championship. So still best in the world. Very inspiring.
So you call yourself a metabolic practitioner.
Yes.
Highly inspired by the Charles methods, and you worked with him for a long time. And so with these athletes that you're working with, the elite athletes at the highest level, what kind of stuff do you get involved in? I know it's broad-based and it goes into diet and supplements and also training.
What are you? What do you do?
Yeah.
That's really, so when I meet people on the street, they're like, what is your job? I go, I tell people what to eat and what supplements to take. Like, that's the basic. But with the elite athletes, it goes beyond that. So I am also a certified strength coach under Charles. And so sometimes I have to, the metabolics encompasses so much of life. So it's not just what are they eating or what supplements they're taking, but what kind of light are they exposed to at what times of day? Is their nervous system recovering? That's a huge one that we can revisit when we talk about sprinting again, is that recovery, right? Let's put a pin in that and we'll come back to that CNS recovery. Are they, like, they usually have their own coach and their own strength coach
for their sport.
But if they have a nagging knee issue or something's going on, they'll ask me and I'll give them a protocol. So, I am the shoulder to cry on if the boyfriend's acting up, or girlfriend, or, I'm the one that says to my Olympic decathlete, what are you doing moving boxes to move apartments 1 month before, the world championship or the decathlete? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what? Stop that. So I am like their mom. I'm like, I don't even know. I do a lot. So, but mostly it's telling them what to eat, what supplements to take, but it does encompass a lot more than that, because metabolics is more than that. If their lifestyle is totally messed up, and that needs to be fixed, I put them on a lifestyle protocol for that, if that makes sense.
So even a high-level athlete still has some work to do, tremendous amount of work to do in the area of diet. What do you usually see as the themes that are coming out with most people that are somewhat well-meaning and interested in optimizing performance?
Great question.
Yeah.
Great question, because there are themes. There is the standard American diet. Our athletes are doing like the standard, what they think is nutritious diet. I don't know what the acronym for that would be, but oh my gosh, I eat healthy. I don't know why I'm not performing like I want to, but I drink smoothies every morning. I eat cottage cheese. I eat yogurt.
It sounds good so far, but stay tuned. We'll be right back after this commercial as Cynthia starts slamming on some of our basic dietary notions. But it's fascinating because even maybe this is a good time for a commercial. Palooza 5-toe minimalist shoes worn by elite athletes and champions. You got to have the 5 separate toes. That's just how it is if you want to really get the right walking and gait pattern.
Look at my skin in the light.
Oh,
I got my Earthen.
Earthen Hawaii.
Oh, it's maybe might look like I'm actually covered in grease, but it's actually tallow.
I love that stuff.
It's shiny because there's mica in it. So.
What's the green stuff called?
The Go-To Cola. That's a Charles thing.
No. The Earthen product.
Yeah, it's Go-To Cola. It's called whipped body butter.
Go-To Cola, whipped body butter.
Yeah, but it
is the best skincare product I put on my body ever. Aloha! It is time to reconnect with the earth and stop putting crappy skincare products on your body. Very, very hard to find good sunscreen. Now I found it from Earthen Hawaii. Vanilla bean is one flavor. Then whipped body butter. This stuff is something special. I don't like putting stuff like lotion on my skin because I don't like the feeling of it going on and the chemical type smell of a lot of stuff. And I'm always looking for great skincare products. So you have some different samples there. And then this cool thing, Ka'u Coffee, local coffee farm soap. Also got some samples of genuine Hawaiian sea salt, and we have antiviral coffee spice made with the very best cinnamon. I want to tell you a little bit about their mission statement because it's really cool. Our creations are small batch, seasonal, and intentional, made with reverence for animal, plant, and mineral alike. We work with local growers, ethical suppliers, and regenerative methods to craft goods that elevate our relationship with nature. Please go learn more and try some of their wonderful products at earthenhawaii.com. Use the discount code B.rad for a special discount. Stop buying into mainstream cosmetic industry that damages the planet, damages your skin. And this is serious stuff, people. Start taking care of yourself and start taking care of the earth with Earthen Hawaii. You just started this new venture called Earthen Hawaii.
Yeah.
So it's skincare, healthful skincare rather than the chemically laden skincare. That's one of our biggest offenders.
Very handcrafted at the moment, but small batch. But all, our skin is an organ, and what we put on it, we ingest.
Biggest one.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Some people say muscle, but it is muscle and skin if you look up the research. But and so we're already bombarded by toxins and things like coconut oil, shea butter, cocoa butter that I use as the base, and tallow, of course. They create a breathable barrier on your skin that blocks bacteria and can block some of these toxins, as opposed to putting on Lubriderm or whatever it is. I don't know if the commercial lotion is Aveeno, that type stuff. Even CeraVe, a lot of people use that. It's like full of chemicals. And Charles used to call it chemical castration when bodybuilders would go work out and then go to the locker room. I guess they used to have the lotion in the locker room or whatever and put all this on. He's
sure they still do.
Chemical
big pumps
castration.
of
They do? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hair wash, body wash, and lotion at the end. Yeah,
that's what he called it, chemical castration, because it's such an endocrine disruptor, or, disrupts the hormones. So I got tired of my clients would be like, what should I use? And I'm like, what? I'm just going to make my own, and you can use this. So, yeah.
And is there like Hawaii sourcing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I put Hawaii honey in my soap that I make, and any kind of local ingredients I can. But the go-to cola is something I learned from Charles. And to backtrack, I didn't just learn the things from Charles. He taught me how to keep going in the research. That's the main thing, is he taught me how to. So even the metabolic protocol or evaluation that I do is loosely based on what he taught me, but it takes it above and beyond. So I'm not just using the metabolic analytics system that he came up with, or some people call it biosig. I'm not actually just using that. I went beyond that and I did the research, because that's what he taught me, do the research. And I found the traditional Chinese medicine roots of it and then expanded on that. So that's what I actually use when I do my in-person protocols or evaluations. But the go-to cola was one of the actual things that he taught.
Is that one word spelled?
Go-to cola. It's Centella asiatica is the scientific name, but go-to is G-O-T-U, cola, K-O-L-A. Okay. And it's the Chinese herb of longevity. So it's good for absolutely
Where do you get it?
Everything.
Is it a plant or a tree?
Naturally in Hawaii.
No way.
Yeah, it's like almost a weed.
People, you got to check out. Is it Earthen Hawaii? What's the website?
Thank you.
You got to check it out and order some of this whipped. It's called whipped body butter, but it contains go-to cola.
Right. And so what Charles found is that the cutting edge supplement research was in burn victim units. So he went straight to that, and go-to cola repaired the skin on burn victims better than anything else. But it's also good ingested as like a supplement type of tea or something like that. Yeah. Anyway. So we didn't have to do a commercial, but thank you. Appreciate it.
It wasn't even a commercial. It just flowed naturally. But back to the diet. part. And you mentioned cottage cheese and yogurt and this and that. And so let's keep going.
All right. So
with your theme of
what do they think is right? One client said, I'm really frustrated because I go to the Olympic Training Center and the nutritionist looks at my food log and she says, looks great. She's like, but I don't feel great. Like I'm doing fine, but I don't have the body I always wanted, like my competitors, And so I looked at her food log and I said, nope, not enough. Too much of this,
Oh yeah.
I mean, she was doing things like brown rice and salmon and broccoli for dinner, and she's like,
also so far sounds good to almost all viewers and listeners. Yeah.
And I take it and I pinpoint what foods do they actually need for them. Some people need more liver support foods like beets, walnuts. I specifically pinpoint to that individual, what do they need most of? What is holding them back? So, I mean, this is going to be controversial, but that yogurt and all that cottage cheese, it is a high protein source, which again is in vogue right now. But we figured out a long time ago that it can be very inflammatory. And if you keep that
just
inflammation,
the dairy aspect,
the dairy aspect of it. Yep.
Especially mainstream dairy.
And some people say, well, what about raw dairy? And I'm really, really sorry to tell you the raw dairy does also increase that inflammation, especially in joints. So a lot of times if they have, like a torn hip labrum or, achy joints or things like that, they eliminate the dairy for at least 90 days and they find that pain goes away. And it's pretty amazing. So the more that's happened, the more I recommend kicking that dairy. It could be longer than 90 days. It depends on the athlete. The Olympic athletes, they never return. I'm going to tell you, they perform so well off it that they never return to that dairy. Will they have ice cream after their world championships when they win? Sure. But are they having ice cream consistently throughout the year? No, they never return. And like smoothies, again, you're probably getting too much carbohydrate and sugar and not enough of the proteins and fats. So my athletes thrive on, we'll say protein first, fat second, carbohydrates last. So they're not strict carnivore. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do, but they are not that. They usually have quality carbohydrates, carbohydrate timing, and individualized carbohydrates, if that makes sense.
I can't imagine anyone disputing that. That's very well said. And you're also conveying that an athlete is burning up a lot of energy and will have a need or desire for carbohydrates. And I think that's a better way to put it than the carbohydrate wars. And we think carnivore's stupid, or we think, this and that because you're restricting.
Something I talked to Sean about too.
Sean Baker is a leader in the carnivore movement. You mean? Sean Stevenson. Okay.
I actually am very good friends with Sean Baker, and you know what? He's the poster child of being athletic carnivore. And there is, like I said, there's nothing wrong with it.
And he's pretty strict too, huh?
He's very. Oh my gosh, we went out to dinner once when he was in Maui. And we went to a really fancy place and he ordered a steak, of course. And I felt kind of bad because the steak came out kind of small. It was filet or something.
He's a 6'5", 260 guy that eats a lot of meat.
All day.
So eats pounds of meat every day, literally. He's been fasting all day too.
And he did a workout with me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You worked him hard.
They put little microgreens on top and a little sauce on the side. Oh, he picked all of that off. But he was not even
no rabbit food for Sean.
No, he just
at least he's true to brand. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, he scraped that whole steak.
No fooling around.
Yeah. So, but Sean Baker is great. But I was talking about Sean Stevenson. I was just
Model Health Show, baby.
Yeah.
She's still warm from the Model Health Show. She's vapors coming off after that great show in LA.
Yeah, I was a little hyper in that whole podcast episode because I know he likes to keep it to an hour. So I was like, oh my God, how much information can I cram in this? So I talk a million miles an hour, but it's fine. So Sean Stevenson, we were talking about, what were we just talking about right before that?
The dietary carbohydrate.
Yes. So the wars, you mentioned the wars.
I can't believe I remember what we were talking about, people. We're moving fast. Thanks for staying with us.
Yes.
We are going to town today. You came this far. We got to go to town. We got to extract.
Great. I think we have, because we're both masters athletes, we have a good friendship kind of thing where we understand the world and each other, that the world we live in, master's track world and fitness and longevity. And we're both curious minds, right?
Yeah.
So we like to talk about all this stuff. So when I talked to Sean, we talked about, you mentioned wars. Everyone's arguing carnivore versus vegan versus keto. And then now there's the sugar diet, and which, don't even get me started on that. But, so all these wars, but no one's talking about eating for neurotransmitters. I teach my clients to eat for neurotransmitters. Have you ever even heard of that?
I haven't seen a book title that name. Maybe it's not taken yet. You should grab it.
I don't think anybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
Of course, Charles did. His main thing, even stimulus with strength training, was the neurological system, which we are now obviously talking about for neural output and aging and sprinting and things like that. But what about eating for neurotransmitters? This is what this schedule that I have my elite athletes on, and the lady next door who needs help with her autoimmune disease, they eat for neurotransmitters. What does that mean? Okay, so that means in the morning, I'm strategically eating foods to spark acetylcholine and dopamine. So I need motivation from the dopamine, and I need lasting energy from the acetylcholine. So we don't want something that spikes dopamine and then drops it like a roller coaster. That would be like a sugary type breakfast.
Sugary coffee or something, I
Sugary
suppose.
coffee.
Yeah.
It could be oatmeal with honey in it. Maple syrup.
Because of the carbs and the...
it's going to spike you. It's going to put you on the...
And you also have a cortisol spike when you wake up, and then you're getting more... Too much.
We want to really kind of eliminate that.
Yeah.
And when you spike dopamine, it acts the same as like drugs, like cocaine. It drops you below baseline, and then you need more to light yourself up.
When you do a dopamine spiking behavior,
correct,
such as
eating
instant gratification, lifestyle
media,
habits, addictive behaviors.
Correct, addictive behavior.
You're getting the pleasure hit. And then you're getting a corresponding lull, which makes you like an addict, because that's the definition of an addict.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
And then you have to get more. So I always tell people, like, hey, it's not your fault if you crave a donut at 10 a.m. if your breakfast was cereal. Fault. It's your neurotransmitters telling you that you need that dopamine spike again.
Yeah.
And so
to feel not high, but normal. That's the definition of an addict. You need a hit. Everyone thinks they need a hit to get high. It's to get normal. Yeah. So you had your oatmeal with
Never
honey.
Never as good as the first time or something, they say, right?
Yeah. You went to the Olympic Training Center. You went to their cafeteria. You had their oatmeal with honey.
Oh, no. You know what they're serving there? Can I tell you what I thought?
Is it the sponsor, the granola bars or something?
The sponsors for sure. Powerade smoothies. Powerade slushies to the max.
Yeah.
But rainbow sprinkle pancakes is what
you told me that.
And I said, what are the
our beloved Olympic team
are working in the kitchen, sabotaging it?
Yeah, exactly.
And they were like, oh, this is like how breakfast is all the time. Yeah. And then if they are getting bacon and eggs and things like that, like they're cooked in like the seed oils and highly inflammatory things. I'm sorry, Olympic Training Center, but you just got to get your act together a little bit better. And
hire some good consultants.
So the problem is that those nutritionists are trained by big food companies. So like
traditional educational system, you get a degree in dietetics.
It's kind of not even their fault either.
Right, they're very well trained.
They're down the line,
and very astute on the graph.
Like this is what's right.
Yeah,
and when I say like don't eat this Powerade, don't drink the Powerade slushies, or don't eat the rainbow sprinkle pancakes, because they're telling them athletes need sugar. This is what we were taught. Then they look at me like, well, she's wrong. But then they're leaving the Olympic Training Center nutritionist to come to me, and then having the best years of their life and saying, oh yeah, okay, well, they were wrong. That's why I'm sitting in this seat today, because that keeps happening. and it's my gift. I'm humbly grateful that I was given this gift and still able to help others thrive, because that's what my true passion is, helping others thrive. But so talking about eating for neurotransmitters, so we don't want to spike the dopamine, but we do want to preserve and make dopamine. And the precursor to dopamine is L-tyrosine, which the number one food for that is red meat. Yes, red meat. So if you're having your red meat for breakfast and then you have a handful of nuts with it or a couple eggs, my clients don't eat eggs every day because they can actually also be inflammatory if eaten in excess. Then a handful of nuts and maybe some berries for some carbohydrates. Full antioxidant power. The thinner the skin, the more antioxidants that has.
The thinner the skin,
like
the higher
blueberries,
antioxidant.
raspberries, that sort of thing. Grapes even are a berry. So that when they're starting their day like that, then they have motivation and they have lasting energy. And what Charles used to teach about the research was that, for instance, there was a study about productivity making chairs in a factory. And when they ate protein-rich breakfast, specifically meat, in the morning, they had more energy and more productivity throughout the day, even if they ate a carbohydrate-rich lunch. So that morning breakfast set them for the day. And I also don't agree with fasting for most people. I think it's an option for some, but it's not necessary. You can get autophagy so many other ways. And it's detrimental to thyroid health and all kinds of things. But so we have that. And then at the other end, we want to wind down in the evening. So people talk about there's the war, carbohydrates are not in the evening. And I'm like, not even talking about that. I'm like, where's the tryptophan? Okay. Because we want to spark serotonin and GABA and all the winding down neurotransmitters. So let's hit the poultry for the evening. And these are there's a lot more nuances for each individual client, but these are two pillars of eating for neurotransmitters. So everybody's out there arguing about protein and carbs and vegan and carnivore. And I'm like, let's talk about neurotransmitters.
So regarding the fasting, let's put aside the Olympic athletes and their high caloric needs, and your multi-event athletes who are training for 7 hours a day. Literally, they're gonna have different dietary needs than, like,
you would think.
Let's say an average.
Similar. It's actually similar.
They just maybe need more calories of the same type of composition.
Maybe. Yeah. But it depends on what you think that they're training hard for 7 hours, but there's a lot of downtime. Yeah. Their coaches are making sure that they're recovered and they're doing, technical work. And
it's not the triathlete training 7 hours with the elevated heartbeat. Not at all. No.
Yeah. So it's similar in the fact that I treat my clients, whether it's like the everyday person next door, the next door neighbor, I treat them and I tell them they need to be athletes. So they need to strength train just as many times as my Olympic athletes, which is not as much as you think again. And they need
a few days a week.
A few days a week, 3 to 4 days a week. And then they need to do high burst explosive output.
Yeah.
And
you're talking about the next door neighbor type person. Anyone who comes to you for help at any fitness level.
Right. That's part of their suggestions for metabolic protocol.
And this is now getting a little more popular, where even a novice or someone who wants to drop excess body fat, fasting needs to be second guess. It's not the magical end all way to succeed, because you have those fallback or those reactive responses to fasting, which maybe you can describe some more of the drawbacks or the second guessing of fasting.
Yeah. So unfortunately, fasting puts our nervous system
I know you did a good job waiting till 12 noon, but unfortunately.
Oh my gosh. Or what about all those people that are like, I'm on my second day of fasting, and I just feel bad for them. And because it's just not necessary. Jump in the sauna if you want autophagy. Jump in the sauna.
Mike Lutzel's great punchline on his video. I think of a similar title. We can put it in the show notes. But he said that the research on autophagy is the natural cellular internal detoxification process. So you clean up damaged cellular material. You get a cleansing type of thing. Yeah. So the benefits of autophagy peak at 48 hours fasted. That's when, like, Walter Longo and the fasting experts say, the organs actually shrink because they're discarding inflamed cells, and you get a renewal, anti-aging. It's all great and all true. And they shows the research showing that an hour of high-intensity exercise, a slam-in workout of an hour, gives a similar autophagy effect to fasting for 48 hours. Which one do you choose? I think I'd choose the hour slamming in the gym rather than 2 days of starving myself.
Well, it's just better for your body and your nervous system. So your body wants to work hard and then rest, work hard and then rest. It definitely does not want to feel like it's dying by not eating for 48 hours, which is what's happening, is you're actually getting into where it's in survival mode. And that's why all those chemicals are being released and everything. It's like, okay, we're dying because we're not.
The autophagy of response.
Yeah.
Right.
And so like, it's just not necessary. So, and for females that are perimenopausal, menopausal, they find that at the early stages of perimenopause, it'll work. For maybe like the first time they do it, they'll be like, okay, I finally lost the 5 pounds that I haven't been able to lose by doing the same thing I did in my 20s, right? Because that's one of the things most perimenopausal women complain about is whatever I did before is not working. And now I'm starting to get a spare tire.
Yeah.
And so they'll try the fasting. It'll maybe work or maybe not the first time. And then they try it again and it doesn't work.
Right.
So there's like some perimenopausal influencers out there, menopause, and they're pushing the fasting. But really what that's doing is restricting the calories, and then you're not going to be able to build the muscle mass or the muscle power, which we now know is the most important thing.
Right.
So
protein is necessary for both muscle mass and muscle power, muscle recovery.
So
right.
Right, exactly. But why not, Brad? This is what my passion is teach everyone how to be their superhero warrior self. Why say I'm not an athlete? I'm not like those Olympians. I say, can I curse on this podcast?
Absolutely.
I say, fuck yeah, you're as good as those Olympians. Like, what?
That's great. I love it.
Fuck yeah. Let's go. You are as good as those Olympians. Just because you're 61 years old doesn't mean that you can't run the best time in the whole world in the 400. I'm talking to you, and I'm talking about Sue McDonald's, right? So if she can do it, then, and she's one of my clients, like, you can do it. And say you're sitting on the couch, you've never sprinted, you want to start, guess what? You can do it. You can get up and you can start. You can go on the assault bike if you don't like to run. You get on the rower, but you can be an athlete.
The assault bike is the one where you pump the arms and the legs.
No problem. I have my clients who are not competitive athletes make a mock peak in, say, June or July, which is when a normal track peak would be.
That's fun. All right.
Yeah, they have a mock peak.
Peak Olympics.
And they have periodized workout, creating foundations to keep them, really healthy and strong. And they build strength every year, and they peak. They time trial themselves, whatever it is we decide on. They have their peak, then they take their rest period of 8 weeks, and then they go back into their next cycle. And they are athletes, let me tell you. And they feel their best selves, become their superhero warrior selves. That's what I'm all about. Let's empower everyone to do it. So, what you got after that, Brad?
I mean, what would you say to and I don't know if you get this, you said you surround your life is surrounded with health-minded people on the big island of Hawaii.
Yes, I'm in a bubble for sure.
I wonder what you would say to a naysayer who pops off right now with a counter opinion. I don't have the freaking time to live like an athlete. I have to bust out every morning, get the kids on the bus, and then I go work a stressful job, and I take the subway, and I don't have time to train for 2 hours a day.
Right. So you recommend. To be sick? That's what I would say. Do you have time to be sick? Do you have time to have
that's productive
heart
too.
disease? Do you have time to take time off in 10 years?
Because that's where we're headed. Yeah,
because that's exactly what happens.
That's a good wise, smiley answer. I love it.
I mean, that's what I've seen. I mainly what I do is I assess patterns, and with my knowledge and experience and research, come up with the answer to that pattern. Yeah, and what's going on, because it's all patterns, and so. I see the same patterns happening over and over.
You mean amongst different people too, you mean?
Yeah. And it's just data. It becomes data. I don't know how to describe it, but all my client cases, thousands of clients, they become data. And I know, okay, this is the same pattern. For instance, I can tell someone over the phone in a 45-minute consultation if they have a nickel allergy or not. I've been 100% accurate in answers that they give me if they have a nickel allergy. And heavy metal issues and things like that. Just because I can read the pattern of their answers and predict and they go test it. How did you know? And this and that. And I'm like, because it's patterns and experience and reading those patterns.
This is now coming to the forefront of, progressive medicine, like Chris Kelly, Nourish, Balance, Thrive. He's feeding all this information into algorithm. And so the questionnaire that comes out says, does your stomach sometimes blow up after an evening meal? And you say, 3 out of 10 or something. And if you answer enough questions, it'll show that you maybe have SIBO or all these things. Right. Yeah. So your brain is doing the same thing as the chat GPT right now.
AI is not totally correct all the time. So It's a good tool.
I scolded AI because I wanted to. I go, give me the list of. I was just talking about I said, give me the list of the top 10 male high jumpers of all time.
Oh, okay.
Sure, here you go. And I go, wait, Ivan Ukov jumped 242. Why isn't he on the list? Oh, you're right.
Yes.
I'm sorry about that. And I wrote back. I go, don't you ever take shortcuts and give me insufficient information again. I'd rather have you take longer. Sorry about that. Thank you. And I won't do it anymore. But I'm like, yeah, it's not always spot on.
It's not always spot on. And algorithms, I worry about algorithms because Instagram has just become all algorithms. And I feel like in the bigger picture, is everything just getting spewed into the algorithm and everyone's information? So you say like, well, I talked about the standard American, what they think is healthy nutrition diet, like it's getting thrown at them through this algorithm. So even if I were to not on my AI, because my AI already knows how I like to view things, but on just a random AI standard American diet, I could say, what is the best healthy diet? What do you think it's going to say?
Wow, that's interesting. If you just hit it with that question fresh out.
Yeah.
I don't know. What would it say?
Mediterranean, because that's what's in the medical research, you know?
Yeah. Well,
so
I mean, enough medical research. Right?
Yeah. Mediterranean diet.
Yeah. And like, that's such a catch-all statement that means very little.
Balanced this and that. Like, it's very vanilla, not individualized, but think about all the people that are getting that information. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because it's just all about the algorithm. So for instance, on Instagram now, if I post anything about, I ride horses or brush horses on the weekends. And if I post about the horses and it's the most beautiful horses you've seen, leopard Appaloosas and white, gorgeous horses in the rolling green hills of Hawaii. And Instagram hates it because that's not my followers. My followers don't follow me to look at horses. Okay. They follow me to get, kind of like health and fitness advice or whatever it is, that kind of thing. The metabolics, aging well, fast over 40, fast over 50, that kind of thing. Hates it. I get like hardly any views on it because of the algorithm. And I worry that everyone's going to be getting their information from this algorithm. What do you think?
Well, I think, on the other side, on the human side, we're already kind of abusing it by crafting content that we know. Like I won't say who, but a leading podcaster, their staff informed me that the negative title works twice as good as a positive title. Because I kind of said, do you really have to title it? Negative. Right. This is terrible. And the answer is yes, because any negatively titled video is twice as watched as a positive. Like, great health tips from Cynthia. Yeah. No, it's stop doing this stupid diet stuff that's wrong.
Oh, please. And if I say don't eat cottage cheese, like...
Yeah, maybe we should title it like cottage cheese and other falsehoods of... Yeah. So is that... something that's individualized, or are you comfortable saying like most people have the potential for inflammatory dairy reaction? What if I come back and say, well, I feel fine and I eat this is how I eat and I just won the gold medal?
When I have throwers, like say shot putters or something like that need to hold body weight.
You recommend. Go ahead.
Go ahead and have the dairy. But when it comes time for competition, you need to cut it out because of the inflammation. Your cells need to be able to communicate the best that they can during that competition. And they can't with inflammation involved. So,
what other
shoot
foods?
The messenger. I'm just telling you my opinion. You could go ahead and eat cottage cheese.
It's just an observation from the data.
It doesn't affect me. I'm fine with it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, down the line, eventually things happen. So,
have you experienced the personality profile of an extremely competitive elite athlete can also be hard-headed at times and difficult to convey information or get them to change?
I've been blessed with
maybe because you pre-screen. Someone came to you because they're already open-minded.
I do pre-screen a little bit, but they're really the best athletes in the world. They're at the top of the world. They want to know every single meticulous detail. and they follow it.
And they're open-minded to it.
Let's see, like Sue, for instance.
Yeah.
She's, broke whatever it was, 17, 18 world records or something that year that she turned 60.
Yeah.
And before that, I think we've already talked about this story, but she was plant-based for 7 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And she was, and I said,
she ran marathons. She was plant-based. It was so sad. I said, I'm sorry to hear that. You were a great marathon runner and triathlete.
She's great at everything, though.
Yeah.
Just so, but she was plant-based for 7 years. And I said, I found out, and we had an appointment. It was like a Tuesday. We had an appointment for Thursday. And I said, I'm so sorry. I don't work with plant-based athletes. Like, I basically told her no.
Then she took a screenshot at the steakhouse, said, I'm with you.
No, wait. She said, I really think that you're going to be key to my success. And I really want to work with you. I'll eat a steak tonight. For dinner.
Was rethinking it already.
And I said, well, actually, poultry is better at night because you have the neurotransmitters. And guess what? That night, she sent me a picture of her chicken dinner. And I said, all right, let's keep the appointment. And you know what? She has been the best client.
Yeah.
Again, meticulous to the T. She follows everything. She just been a gem of a client. She asked me about, I don't know. She just dialed it in, pretty quickly. And she had some hip inflammation that went away. So when I talk about things that are like these inflammations or night injuries, that keeps you from training at your capacity, which you know about this, which keeps you from performing at your capacity. Mm-hmm. So it was limiting her training at the time, right before she turned 60. And without that hip inflammation, after I took her off of dairy, gave her anti-inflammatory supplements, she had a particular protocol. She was able to train hard. Again, she did the hard work. I'm not taking credit for everything, but she loves her red meat before races now. You can ask her, and she's like, oh, I love my steak before races to, carnosine, carnitine, creatine, B12, folate, all these things that are the perfect super package as a supplement before you run, like maybe an hour and a half before you run. Like, she loves that. And so she ended up breaking, 17, 18 world records, whatever it was.
From
and then
up to mile.
She kept going and ran that 61 last year at age 61, which is like so fast, you guys. Like, you don't even know. But if you watch her videos, even now, she's 62, I guess, 63. And then she moves like a 20-something-year-old, 30-year-old. Like,
well, she's in the meets with the college kids.
Yeah, editing them.
I'm like, I didn't see that meet on the schedule, Sue. I'm trying to plan do you have any meets around California you can suggest? Well, I'm going to Westmont, and then I'm going to this. I'm like, I didn't see that on the master's list. That's because it's a college meet. How do you get into that? I get let in because I'm just as fast as them. Oh, okay, good to know. I'll be looking for the other opportunities, but
One thing we can talk about, if you want to, is that I took her off of creatine.
Yeah.
She is, of the age where most people say, okay, you need creatine. But what happens is that, and I find at least 50% of the population, it can potentially cause some side effects because there's an osmotic water shift. It's taking cellular water and putting it intracellular, and then that extracellular imbalance causes things that like headaches, bloating, sometimes some kidney issues, thinning hair, acne, double periods because the progesterone is sensitive and it doesn't, react right. Women have a system called RAAS, and this is controlling our water. So it tells us to retain fluid or not retain fluid according to our hormones. And sometimes hormones are sensitive to that. So she's one example of, maybe every supplement's not right for everyone, but other people do fine with it. So I'm also on the unpopular list for disputing all the other influencers out there saying everyone should have creatine, give it to your kids, give it to everyone. I think it's good for some people, but with genetic variations.
Yeah.
In the future, Brad, I think it's going to come out that these genetic variations dictate like what's going to be individualized good for us or not. So if you have a mutation in your SLC6AR gene, which is your creatine transport gene, then you're going to actually hold the creatine and it's going to make you bloat, right? Instead of processing it well.
Yeah.
But we don't know, because nobody does this research, how many people in the population have this genetic variation. But this can be applied to a lot of things, almost everything. So that explains why maybe somebody out there will be like, hey, not to pick on the cottage cheese again, but I do fine with cottage cheese, or I do fine with creatine or whatever. Like, I'm not saying you don't, but I'm saying that in a certain percentage of people, it could be inflammatory and have side effects and that sort of thing. So I had 3 athletes set world records
off creatine.
That went off creatine. So just know that I think I'm passionate. I know you have a product with creatine, so I feel bad, but I think the product is great. your Whey plus creatine.
Yeah,
but it's maybe not for everyone. I'm not the person that's going to blanket recommend it.
I mean, the follow-up questions would be, in the absence of symptoms, are you still concerned? I don't have bloating. I don't have
then you probably
this and this.
Well. Yeah.
But I also have another follow-up question, which is like,
shouldn't be done long term though.
What, creatine supplementation?
Yeah, none of the research is long term.
Oh.
Yeah, and what I found, I have like masters throwers that are clients that'll do.
None of the thousands of creatine studies are long-term.
No, they're not.
Except for the people that have been taking it for the last 10, 20 years.
Right, and then those people are coming to me because they have kidney problems and their doctors are trying to tell them they can't eat protein ever again and all kinds of things. So I'm seeing the negative results, and I have to fix these people. So I don't want to fix anybody, I would rather them just be good preemptively.
The other question, let's say, just for hypothetical, we could say yogurt, cottage cheese, and all these things are present in the diet. I don't have any overt symptoms of horrible inflammation right after I have my cottage cheese. However, we don't know what we don't know. So I'm, I might be at level 7. I want to be at level 9, and I think I'm at level 8. Or might be at level 5. I don't know. So like, what other foods and what other dietary patterns come up that you would suggest some experimentation and some trial and error if I'm trying to optimize my diet all the way?
Smoothies are a big one.
Well, you talking about what's in the smoothie.
Right.
Tell us what I'll volunteer. I had the Rhonda Patrick green smoothie. This is now 7 or 8 years ago, with all the raw produce thrown in there. And
you know where I'm going with this.
I inspired my friend to try it too. And we both experienced like massive stomach bloating for hours right after drinking it, because it was all raw. Kale, celery, carrots, beets, spinach. And it was, in the name of the most antioxidant-rich mixture you can drink on the planet. Drink this green sludge. It has 1 million views on YouTube video. We could even put it in the link if you want to get bloated really fast. But we were talking after, and my friend said, I get that severe bloating too, but it's so healthy, it's worth it. And after that phone call, I hung up, and I was like, dang. Something's wrong with the picture here, because if it is super healthy, we shouldn't have this. I had like
camp of people who think
suffering.
Bloating is normal.
Well, it is normal.
And
it's normal.
3 months,
right? It's common.
Belly and
all that stuff.
That raw.
Yeah.
Well, so let's take that. So for instance, I had a client that came to me for help that she was doing the raw spinach with almond butter and almond milk and
oxalate.
Yeah. So she ended up with kidney stones.
Oof.
Yeah. So
wow. Not saying it had anything to do with your smoothie every day, but oxalates and almonds are the highest levels in the diet. Spinach.
She was having that every day. And once she cut it out, she had success, of course, but that was and because I've heard now, I had 10 people come to me in a row with that I was like, okay, wow. pattern. Yeah. That's what they were having. Cause it was about 6 or 7 years ago, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, still
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I think still people do that.
Oh, at the gym, they have one choice for liquid almond milk, the only one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, how about water? Yeah. I guess I could do that, but it's one of the, like it or not, or maybe we have the almond milk lovers out there, or the Almond Council is going to be my next sponsor, but like it or not, it's one of the highest ranked foods for the oxalates, which can cause kidney problems, among other things, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
smoothies.
I like a little splash of almond milk in my coffee.
Yeah,
I prefer coconut milk. It's got better bacterial profile. But my absolute favorite, of course, is Keto Brains. I was showing you earlier. It's like a MCT, coconut-based MCT.
It's like a creamer.
L-theanine. Yeah, it's like a creamer. L-theanine, alpha GPC, and lion's mane. So a really powerhouse pack. I got that in here to get.
That's why she's still cranking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. still cranking the controversy. But yeah, so basically any kind of type of smoothie like that. I do like a protein shake. I love whey protein for most clients, but if the bacteria profile in the gut is not balanced, it'll feed the bad bacteria. So you got to be careful that your bacteria is mostly
what specifically will feed
good.
something in a protein?
Yeah.
General protein or
yeah, the whey protein.
Okay.
Just the types of bacteria that it produces and the fermentation aspect of it. So it'll feed that bad bacteria because there's more of them. But if you have the good bacteria, it'll feed the good bacteria. So you just have to have that balance. So I tell people like, hey, if whey protein makes you bloated, you have a couple choices. You could either go to beef protein, which doesn't do that. But then you're missing the leucine because the leucine is higher in the whey protein and you need that for that muscle mass and power better. Amino acid profile, but then the beef protein has more glycine because it's made from hydrolyzed collagen usually. So that's good for people with like tendon issues or something like that. I push the beef protein more on them and have them supplement the leucine with amino acids separately. But I digress. So the whey protein, if they do want to stick with it, then they usually take a probiotic with it and then it's feeding the good bacteria and then they're okay.
We also have a huge disparity in the quality and the purity of whey protein.
Yes,
so
we do. You know about
recommending
that.
grass-fed whey protein isolate from trusted source, where most of the whey protein on the market, besides the chemical sweeteners and all the crap they put in there to make birthday cake and caramel swirl and cookies and cream, it's whey protein concentrate, which is way less pure and cheaper than whey isolate. So
I know
especially
you have the good quality ones.
Why, thanks. If she says that, that's good because she don't mess around. But especially with supplements in general, because you're getting a concentrated dose of whatever, you really got to go top tier, like not big box store to buy your mega dose of fish oil. That's not going to be a winning move unless you're going for the very best.
Oil.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's just not the same.
Go to Costco for
what can we get at Costco?
Stainless steel water bottles. This is from Costco in Maui. And I have a whole bunch of these from,
when you got your Earthen?
from sponsors and wonderful. This is the best one. And it was like 2 for $30 at Costco in Maui. It's several years old. We got the Maui on there represented. We got the Palooza. We got the Earthen Hawaii. We got a little sip as we continue.
Yeah. And I got my coffee with Dreamer and Moses. But
So other dietary areas to focus on besides the inflammatory dairy, crappy morning smoothies with a lot of raw produce that cause bloating.
Neurotransmitters. Eat for neurotransmitters.
Right. So you mentioned the meat morning and evening. So meat being a dietary centerpiece, high protein.
Quality meat. We talked earlier before the podcast about bison and venison.
The red meat being higher ranked. And the alternative animals being superior to the mainstream cattle that are...
they're wild. They have more nutrients.
Maui Nui venison, like probably even for people who are, for humane reasons, choosing not to eat meat. Like, if you don't know about this problem, the overpopulation of the deer on Maui ruining the ecosystem, they're humanely harvesting these animals so you can eat it in good conscience that you're helping the planet.
I humanely harvest them with my bow.
Really? You pick up some is it the same axis deer from Big Island? Do they live on the Big Island too?
There's no deer on the
so this overpopulation thing was a specific Maui disaster that someone introduced.
Yes, and people have tried to sneak deer onto the Big Island, and they
for hunting reasons?
To populate them for hunting. But
oh my goodness.
No, we have boar to hunt.
Oh, the boar.
And people hunt the wild goats and things like that. But the deer population is still exploding on Maui. In fact, this is a fun side story. I don't know, there's no relevance to anything, but I was walking my dog in Lahaina, and we were in a temporary trailer before we moved to the Big Island, but it was on a big piece of property. But it was in Lahaina, right off the highway. And I was walking my German Shepherd off the leash because it's, again, a big property. So we were walking the property around sunset, and we came kind of like, not around a corner, but sort of. There was like a little dip in the hill, and there was a herd of deer. They made it all the way from up country to Lahaina because the explosion of the population. I mean, that's like... It's miles and miles and miles that these deer
crossing some highways and stuff.
There. And so it turned out it was the highway, that little dip, and then my path, and then a fence behind me to the mountain, And that's their escape. That was their escape route, because then there was another mountain on the other side. So they started running towards me to get over the fence behind me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, deer. And then of course I'm like, my bow's like a quarter mile away.
Yeah.
Didn't think to bring my bow on the walk with the dog. And one, some of them are jumping behind me. And then one kind of went to the side, stumbled, hit its head a little bit, and then ran straight at me. It was disoriented. And my German Shepherd launched and grabbed the deer by the neck and pinned it on the ground, like a 110-pound axis deer. Yeah.
Wow.
Just like you would see a police dog grab a criminal. And I was just, oh my God. So my first thought was, what do you think? Like, oh, I really need to eat that meat, probably. So she had it pinned, and it had kind of like a head injury thing going on or something. But she had it pinned, and I ended up dragging it a quarter mile back to the temporary trailer we were in. And had my son FaceTime my husband, and he was like, oh, okay. Like, actually, my friend's cleaning a pig right up the road. So he came down and took care of the deer, and we ended up getting meat. But she kept it pinned. So every time it would try to escape, she would just pin it. And then sit there like she was just doing her
natural
job.
Hunter.
Yeah, so impressive. Yeah. Anyway, it's a story that's not related to anything except for that I wish I had my bow.
For the red meat being the dietary centerpiece. Yeah.
Yeah, the venison is highly nutritious. Yeah.
And of course, we're eliminating nutrient deficient processed food, goes without saying. Yes. But is there anything else to wrap up diet that you like to see your clients transitioning away from common recommendations and what have you? Oatmeal with honey in the morning gives you that
just
instant gratification,
full of
dopamine spike.
Even the glyphosate-free oatmeal is not glyphosate-free.
Yeah.
It's low parts.
Would that be a lot of grains? Or with glyphosate? That's that's Roundup is the familiar name people use in agriculture. Yeah.
I'd say limiting grains is a key.
Sure. Okay.
Perspective of mine. Limiting to sometimes eliminating. It depends on the client. But the oats, particularly, that people think, well, I get the glyphosate-free brand, and I'm all like, if you look at the fine print, it is not glyphosate-free. It's lower parts per million of glyphosate. So the Roundup, it inhibits glycine, which is a key element to everything, all of our processes in our body, but particularly our epithelial lining, which is that one cell thick lining of our gut. So when that's compromised, then we get pathogenic things like H. pylori, which causes ulcers and stomach cancer. It's very bad. So we want to keep that nice and smooth, that lining. Yeah, no sandpaper ripping through it.
Other things that irritate gut lining or cause gut inflammation.
Other things, well, the dairy, of course, and endurance running.
Right.
The type of exercise we do actually affects what kind of gut bacteria we produce. And it turns out that endurance running, the longer you go, ultra endurance is the worst for gastrointestinal problems.
I've seen the studies comparing like the rugby players with the great gut diversity. And then with the endurance athletes, one of the problems is, well, the crap that they have to ingest to fuel that long distance. And then the other one is like the elevation of body temperature when you're exercising for a long period of time. You do have leaky gut at those times. And so if you're doing that for hours a day, unlike the heptathlete who's training for 7 hours, but it's fits and spurts, and they're not like blowing their guts out for a 3-hour ride at 155 heartbeats a minute or a 7-hour ride, whatever.
They're exploding resting.
Yeah. Is that what's going on with the endurance athlete? Is that why the gut is so traumatized by it?
Well, yeah, it has to create bacteria to fuel that type of stress and that cortisol. Like it changes the whole bacterial profile. And there was a great article, I think it was the Academy of the journal. No, the journal of like I forgot what it's called. It's like athletics, the Journal of Athletics. So exercise science, the Journal of Exercise Science. I believe it was that one, and it had a whole review of things that affect gut bacteria, types of foods, and they were finding too that the power athletes were having more whey protein and more meat and things like that, where the endurance runners were having more carbohydrates, and so all of these high plant foods in high carbohydrate foods, we're contributing a type of bacteria called Prevotella. And if you have Prevotella overabundance, you're going to have arthritis. If you look up rheumatoid arthritis and Prevotella overabundance, you're going to find a link there. So I try to keep the bacteria in line with type of foods and type of exercise. Yeah.
That's pretty much custom, but a good tip to take away is don't overindulge on the processed carbs and so forth.
What do you think about this new sugar diet? Have you seen it?
Yeah, and that's fine. And the reflection that I have is that any ultra restrictive diet is going to cause let's say a loss of body fat, because by definition you're restricting. Same with time restricted feeding, extended fasting, name anything, and you might have a health improvement from departing from your disastrous standpoint of unfettered access to indulgent foods and lack of activity. And so I think we misunderstand and misinterpret all these fads because we're so gnarly and in such bad shape to start with that even training for a marathon, people might immediately experience reduction in excess body fat, better energy, whatever, and they're moving. But then we start to try to climb up that tier of health optimization.
Superhero,
and then it's like, come on. Yeah. I do like to reference evolutionary biology, ancestral health when we get into it, if there's anyone interested, to say like, I don't eat so many eggs now. My mom made her world famous butterscotch brownies, not necessarily the healthiest thing, but she gave it to someone she appreciated. And the person said, I can't eat that because it's got eggs in it and I'm plant-based and my cholesterol's too high anyway. And it's like, the correlation between egg intake and blood cholesterol was destroyed by the Framingham study. There is no longer or larger study, but we still have physicians and people in positions of power and authority spewing data that's 40 years old. So I want to wake people up to the idea that
then people might be listening to me today and they're saying creatine is safe for everyone. She's wrong because the research says, but I'm telling you, the research is going to come out, so I'm that person.
Yeah. I mean,
barking up that tree.
Here's another one.
It's okay. You don't have to tell me that I was right 10 years from now, but you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying like this, I've done so much research and had so much experience with clients.
Yeah.
This is why I have my opinion. I can have my opinion. And my opinion is that sugar diet is junk because look at telomeres. Telomeres, they're the caps on the ends of our DNA.
Yeah, it's a way to measure, apparently a way to measure aging rate. Yeah.
Right. So things that lengthen telomeres are exercise, particularly high intensity, red meat, actually. Things that lower or cut short telomeres. That would be sugar, for sure. They've done extensive research on that.
Are you saying like excess sugar as opposed to a spoon of sugar in your coffee before you go train for 7 hours? It's a big difference.
Correct. Excess sugar. But if you're coming from, we have mutual friends that are coming from a keto type diet, and then they're saying my glucose is still high in the morning, so I'm going to do this sugar diet, so my glucose will be lower. Okay, so now you overcompensated your insulin, and that's why your glucose is lower.
Oh, I get it. That's why it lowers glucose. Okay. Yeah.
It's actually not a good thing. It's an insulin overcompensation.
Yeah.
And then you're actually now increasing all your inflammatory markers and cutting your longevity short. Yeah. Not worth it to me. Just saying.
So you can,
but that's my opinion. Everybody
can talk to Mark Bell about that tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, I will. Oh, don't worry, I will.
But
I think he'll appreciate me giving it to him straight. My opinion, which all this is my opinion. You don't even have to agree.
Yeah, but on that topic,
it's no sweat to me. Just like it was no sweat
that's
to Charles.
Nice.
Saying like he had his opinion.
Yeah.
He got yelled at by doctors, other fitness influencers.
I'll say I told you so in 10 years, but
so it's just my opinion at the bottom line. You don't have to believe me, but if you want to try it and be your superhero warrior self, then give it a shot. Yeah.
I think it's also important when we talk about our obsession with research now, and the studies show this, so I'm right, and we have people really shouting loudly on their platforms. But we mentioned Sue McDonald, so we have kind of the Sue McDonald factor, where here's a woman that's 61 and can run a 61 in the quarter. So whatever the research says, about delaying aging or lengthening telomeres, or, this is how you achieve longevity. Now we have to also look at the practical example of what people excelling in the masters athletic realm, as well as the Olympians. So when I was training for triathlon, there would be magazine cover stories saying 6 weeks of interval training to skyrocket your power output on the bike. And read the study. Oh my gosh. So they took a bunch of college kids that wanted to make $60 the hard way and put them on the stationary bike. And in 6 weeks, they had extreme improvement versus the kids who are just pedaling slowly, or whatever the simple example is. But like the people who are winning the races were doing something differently. And so I value the scientific data of the outlying performance champions just as much as a mountain of research, because there's so many confounding variables with research, but there's only one variable. When we timed Sue and she ran a 61 at 61, you don't have to say anything else except what's up and what did you have for breakfast that day? And did you have
Myler, who loves to eat red meat before her competition?
Right.
Yeah, I asked her.
Anyone
90,
can,
low as 90.
Anyone can criticize that. But then it goes directly in the face of what the athlete just did.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's say, like, for instance, I had a client who was Ohio State track champion, and she goes to a very high prestigious school, and for track. And she had some health issues her first year that were related to her intaking sugar. So she was not my client as a state champion high school athlete. So you could argue, well, she was eating all this sugar and still being state champion and got recruited to this Division I school. But guess what? Everything fell apart. And the sugar had cascading effects on her hormones. And she started getting stress fractures. And I was able to pinpoint the problem, fix the nutrition, put her on the proper supplements, and she's smashing it now in her second year, coming back, So that I love that story. I love to help fix people and bring them to their true ultimate self, because some people will say, well, like, I don't know, so and so, or people like to say Usain Bolt ate McDonald's,
for chicken McNuggets.
He did not really. That was like a show thing. You know what I mean? Like, he was like messing with people.
Oh, interesting.
I've McDonald's all the time.
I've never heard that take, but even if he did, or like Michael Phelps and his famous story on the cover of the newspaper that he ate 12,000 calories a day with giant stack of pancakes. And I should qualify my statement.
I wonder.
Right. I mean, so I want to qualify my statement looking to the great performances of the athletes, but let's also with reasonability look at, because the Game Changers documentary was the best example of, like, well, here's proof this MMA fighter kicked the other guy's ass, and he's a plant, but good for him. He's also a badass that can kick anybody's ass.
Well, most of them were, that the aftermath was most of them on steroids.
Among other
The track athlete they featured just fell off the face of track. She moved from the 400 to the 800 and then just fell off because she couldn't perform.
And there's there's people that thrive with different approaches. My friend Rip Esselstyn, one of the leaders of the plant-based movement with his Plant Strong brand in Whole Foods, and he's broken world records in master swimming. He looks great. He feels great. His blood work is great, just like mine. But if we sit down, which we did have a friendly conversation for a long time, and I'm like, well, dude, my calcium score is 0 also. And so is yours, but I eat a shit ton of hamburger and bison and lamb every single day, and I don't touch your mainstream staples, but you're doing well also. So we can agree that we're both badass in our 60s without necessarily, attaching everything to some perfect diet. There's a lot of ways to get to the gold medal, is what I'm saying. Even if Usain Bolt did throw down some extra chicken McNuggets, he earned them by running 27 miles an hour.
Or athletes that eat the ice cream after they're like, and let's talk about this for a second. So a lot of people might think that what I'm talking about, in my opinion, is restrictive. And what I've found is, and I've worked with many athletes that are, they've had eating disorders in college because they're told, you're an athlete, you need to eat sugar. They eat the sugar. They drink the power of the Fairlife protein. That's the new thing. Yeah, Fairlife chocolate milk after that's like in all the colleges athletic rooms. It's garbage. So it's definitely not your whey protein, creatine, high,
I didn't get that NCAA deal. Sorry.
Yeah, Fairlife protein, garbage, throw it out. Anyway, so so they're consuming all this processed sugar because they're told they need sugar, they need carbohydrates, they need glucose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're just kind of like basically falling off in performance and, cascading their negative effects. So I like to look at like the longevity of it and what's the ultimate long goal. Like for me, my dad running at 82 and being able to teach him how to sprint and coming across from Hawaii to from mainland to Hawaii to play tennis with my kids at 82. Like that's what it's all about, is being able to help my family and help other people thrive. So it is an opinion, and you have to think, okay, we'll find out long term, is that vegan diet going to be okay for him? It might be okay for him now, but long term, is it going to be? I'm more concerned about how are my athletes going to be long term. Even my 20-something Olympians, if they're female, I'm like, hey, great. Oh, I was talking about eating disorders. I'll come back to that. So great. You're doing well, performing well, winning gold medals, but also I want you to be able to have children. I don't want you to have PCOS from too much sugar because, PCOS is an insulin issue that causes a lot of infertility in women. How are we setting up our young female athletes if we're telling them you need sugar? Okay, so all these women are being told they need sugar. This is where I was going. And then they're in this circle of they gain weight and then they have to lose the weight by cutting calories, and then they gain the weight, and then it becomes an eating disorder because they're like, okay, I'm too fat, like to do this event or whatever they're thinking, or I gain this weight, but they're gaining it because the nutritionists are telling them they need sugar. And so I've found that while I'm saying don't eat this, don't eat that, you're asking me specifics, there are so many foods that I say, yes, do eat this and eat it for these reasons. Neurotransmitters, mental health, nerve health. I mean, B12, folate, great for nerve health. The myelin sheath is made from, we need that B12 that comes from red meat. There's so many reasons why I say eat this, this, and this, and don't eat this, this, and this. So it's not actually restrictive. What they find is they're properly fueled. They have satiety, which I think maybe in the plant-based, they don't have.
Underrated. Yeah.
Satiety. So they have this satiety and they're losing body fat and maintaining muscle power. Because otherwise, if you're just cutting calories, you're not really maintaining that fuel, right? Or if you're fasting, you're not maintaining the fuel needed for the power output. And this is the problem with Ozempic, the Ozempic crisis. You've seen the
I don't pay much attention to that stuff, but I know the basic notion of
the
shortcutting.
And so, if you look at the cast of Wicked, the girls are like, as thin as my bracelet here.
Yeah.
They're so thin. And I talked to a friend in the mainland that was like, mainland means the mainland of the States, for anyone that doesn't know, because I'm in Hawaii, which is also a state. So we just call it the mainland. So, and my friend in the mainland said, oh, Cynthia, it's so tragic. I used to have all these friends in my yoga, hot yoga, and my other exercise class, but they don't come anymore because they just stopped. They started taking Ozempic and they lost the weight really quickly. And now they don't exercise because that was the only reason they were coming, was to try to lose weight. So now you have this twofold where you have not enough muscle because it eats away muscle. This it causes gastrointestinal seizure too. That's the problem I've had to fix most with clients that have come to me on it. But all kinds of side effects. But the main thing is that it eats away the muscle. So it's catabolic and you might lose your weight, and that could improve health markers for some people that really need it. But eventually they're really going to have to keep up the strength work and the explosive power. So this is the problem, is now they're unmotivated to exercise.
Yeah. Same with taking statins and depleting CoQ10 in the heart and making your muscles tired. And those are the side effects that people don't talk about. But before we wrap up, I want to go back to that. We were talking about Charles and the importance of recovering the central nervous system as particularly applied to sprinting. So when we are convinced that we need to get out of this bubble of just building the aerobic system with rote, steady state cardiovascular exercise and the many potential drawbacks, now we want to get in there hit it hard in the gym, get that muscle strength and muscle power going,
Muscle power.
integrate sprinting, whether it's the dynamic, the what's it called, the bike?
Assault bike.
The assault bike.
Yeah, because it's full
Yeah.
body, or the rower.
Yeah, or doing your progressions, like going up the hills,
Yeah.
going up the stairs.
Yeah.
We need to be more mindful of recovery than recovering from our slow jog the next day and doing the same thing. So how does that work in? And what's the difference between like muscles and brain recovery?
Well, the central nervous system needs complete recovery. So Charles was the master at creating strength programs where if you did a heavy leg workout one day, you probably weren't doing legs again for like 4 days because your central nervous system needed that recovery. So he structured and periodized programs really well. And so I follow in that with my clients as well whenever I do their strength programs. But so if you're grinding it out every day, like I hear these women go, like, I don't understand why I'm not losing weight. I do Orange Theory every day, or like even people saying I sprint every day, which I feel like if you're actually truly sprinting, you have a recovery cost. So if that, that means the effort wasn't there probably. Right. So, so grinding it out every day just causes lingering cortisol, just like endurance training. Lingering cortisol, cortisol is not bad. We need cortisol. Wake up in the morning, we need it for exercise, but we don't want it to linger because it's a hormone. It disrupts our sex hormones, causes a cascade of problems. But talking about the neural firing, our bodies like to work hard and then rest. So if you're not taking that rest, think about that fiber optics, right? Firing. It's going to fire less strong, like it's not as strong and with less intensity, with less frequency. So you're actually inhibiting your own performance. And if you're, non-athlete, like, I'm trying to get everybody to be an athlete, you still want quality performance as you train. So Charles used to have, I think we talked about this before, this saying, like, if you're in the gym longer than an hour, you're making friends, not progress. So this was just his way of saying, like, you can get quality work done with supersets and different methods that are, just quality instead of quantity.
And also just making sure to shorten that duration.
Correct.
So we don't have that prolonged elevation of cortisol. The harder it is to get back to homeostasis.
Right. So what they found is that sprinting, for instance, spikes the cortisol that's needed, and then it blunts really fast. Yeah. And one of the best ways to blunt cortisol after a workout is whey protein, Brad. Yours.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good for during that recovery window.
Yeah.
They
so
say.
Again, people argue whey protein right after training because of the absorption, but Charles talked about it blunts cortisol. Like, so nobody's talking about that either. I'm like, how is it now at this point? And Charles has taught us this 15 years ago, and still nobody realizes that whey protein blunts cortisol, and that's why it's important, So sometimes I hear Huberman say, we've just discovered this.
Right.
But I'm like,
here in my lab.
Yeah. Charles taught us that 15 years ago,
Would replenishing.
I taught some of you today, some of these cutting edge things that you can say, Cynthia taught me that 15 years ago.
Someday. Would replenishing glycogen also blunt cortisol if you're in that depleted state after a workout at whatever level you need to replenish glycogen?
Yes, of course it could. And Charles, for certain athletes, used this great ATP. ATP Labs is a supplement company that Charles helped formulate what he wanted to see for supplements for his athletes. I still use it because, especially for my elites, because it's Informed Sport approved. It's made in Canada, super high quality. But he helped develop something called pentacarb, which is like pure carbohydrate. So for some athletes, he used that pure carbohydrate. For my athletes, I specialize in keeping them in that protein fat zone and limiting the carbs, again, as I said, to quality carbs. But it could, yes, definitely, potentially blunt that cortisol. But you're also going to be maybe increasing inflammation, depending on what if you're drinking the chocolate
ill-advised
milk.
Choices.
Yeah, if you're drinking the chocolate Fairlife milk or whatever chocolate milk in general post-workout, like
highly nutritious, high-quality carbs, like having a handful of blueberries or whatever.
Acne. Seriously, all these college athletes with all their acne, and I'm like, oh, you do not have to have acne. Like, first of all, cut the chocolate milk.
Yeah.
So,
Cynthia, we've gotten a lot out of you. Thank you. We got to keep your endurance for more podcasts on your mainland tour. But thanks for joining us. I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions, comments. So hit us up, and we'll get you back on someday when we meet again at some championship meet. Hopefully, when we're both healthy and competing.
Years ahead insight.
Yes. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah.
Aloha, mahalo. I hope you enjoyed this video, and will hit like and subscribe below. You can visit bradkearns.com for show notes, timestamps, and helpful links. Comment on the video. We read them all. You can also email us, podcast@bradventures.com. I love to connect. And the best way to support this channel is to check out the finest quality performance nutrition supplements in the world at bradnutrition.com or at the B.rad store on Amazon.